Okay, good afternoon everyone. Welcome to the Melbourne Career Expo 2025. I've been to lots of career expos over the years. This particular workshop is on maximising your LinkedIn profile. So how many of you are using AI? Used AI to update your LinkedIn? Yeah, okay. Well, most of what I'm talking about today is not in AI. So I've been specialising in LinkedIn since 2003. That's when I joined, the 21st of December. So I'm member number 77832. There's now over 1 billion members on LinkedIn. And if any of you are looking for work or trying to build a network or start up a side hustle or do a business, I definitely recommend LinkedIn. Hopefully you can hear me. There's a lot of external noise. I am recording it, and there's a whole bunch of stuff on my sueellson.com website as well. I first started working at Westpac in Adelaide, and I started my career 6 days after my last Year 12 exam there. I spent 11 years in the bank, moved to Melbourne, got a job, found out I was pregnant, got sacked, and basically haven't had a real job since. So I've done an enormous range of stuff. My first website went online, newcomersnetwork.com in 2001. As I said before, I joined LinkedIn in 2003. So I've been using technology for a very long time, and also the author of 5 books. And if you want to download those books for free without creating an account at ResearchGate, you can do that. And the LinkedIn for me is like all of I'm telling you today in detail. So you can download that book for free and just turn the page and it will tell you how to fill in your LinkedIn profile. And if you'd like some personal help, you can contact me directly. So I'm going to give you that tiny bit of background on LinkedIn, but just as a general overview, I'd like to remind you that if you are getting interviews, it means that whatever you've done to get a job is working at some level. The application process means you got an interview, so something you're doing is right. If you get an interview and then you don't get a job, I don't want you to agonise over any reason they give you for missing out. They could say, oh, you don't have enough local experience. Well, why did you interview me? Or they might say, oh, we're looking for somebody who does such and such. Well, again, why did you interview me? So just completely discount the reason, because it's probably not true anyway, and they don't want to be sued. So, they're just going to make up some reason so you don't sue them. So just get beyond it and just start again and do it. Now, I'm part of the Career Development Association Australia. We've got a stand next to us. We can do resume checks and some one-on-one stuff, so make sure you check that out, and also the website. And if you'd like these recordings, this little QR code is on all the slides, and what it will do is it will generate an email, and I'll send you all the presentations that I've done that you can watch without logging in, without signing up. There's no cost, so you're welcome to do that. So why do you need to maximise your LinkedIn profile? Well, basically everybody is going to Google you. Like, as soon as you're in the running for a job, you're going to be Googled, and LinkedIn is highly optimized for your name. Up to 90% of jobs are never even advertised. So if you're only looking for jobs that are advertised, you're missing out on all these other jobs that are not advertised. And as you can imagine, if a decision maker is looking for someone with X skills, and they look on LinkedIn and find you, then they don't have to write a job ad, they don't have to get it approved, they don't have to pay for it, they don't have to go through 300 applications, it just happens. So much, much easier if you can be found. So all the suggestions I'm going to be making are so you can be found from your LinkedIn profile and you appear in search results. Now, my LinkedIn profile helps me appear in LinkedIn search results. Helps me appear in Google or online search results, and it also helps me be found in AI search results. So there was a guy in the UK who asked 100 people to type into their favourite AI engine like ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Claude, Microsoft Copilot for your top 5 LinkedIn specialists, and he compiled the results from those 100 people, and I was equal 6 in the world on AI results. So I'm here to tell you, you can even get AI results from your LinkedIn profile if you optimize it. So I've mentioned some statistics here that you need to achieve. So the first goal is to get at least 60 connections, and the next goal is to get more than 500. The other thing you want to do is make sure you're getting at least 100 views per 90 days. So if you're not getting that, it's not working for you. And you want to have at least 50 appearances in search results in 7 days. I would also recommend, because it's very skills driven now, not just based on your job title, but if you've got skills and you can get votes for them, you want to get votes for those top skills, and at least 20 votes for your top skills. So the best way to get people to vote for you is to vote for them. So you vote for people you know, and then hopefully they'll vote for you, because that is used in those search results. And the last one is recommendations. So you want to give at least 6 recommendations to someone else, and you want to make sure you've received at least 6 recommendations, so people can check any time of the day or night. Now, on your LinkedIn profile, oops, I haven't shown the screen. Why is that not showing? Okay, we'll just see if we can work this out. Because he showed it to me working on the screen before, but it's not moving through at all. Well, this could be tricky to run it without the slides, couldn't it? This way. Let's see if this works for us. Ooh! Aren't I lucky I've got technical skills? There we go. So that's the ResearchGate link. So you can download the books. There's the 5 books. And I'm also a member. There's the Getting Interviews comment I just made. And that's the code. That code's going to be on all the slides. And these are your stats. So when you look at my LinkedIn profile, you can see there's some numbers, and you can see that analytics section. So that's where I'm talking about you need to get those numbers. And then if you click where it says show all analytics, it brings up that linkedin.com/dashboard. And here you can see what LinkedIn is trying to measure. And in particular, they've got this little weekly sharing tracker. So they're trying to measure whether you're a good LinkedIn person. So they want you to be liking other people's stuff in the news feed, and they also want you to be adding comments and occasionally putting out your own content. And that will help you appear in more search results. So everything I'm suggesting today is about getting you in more search results for what you're trying to achieve. So these are the 10 things I'm going to go through. And as I said, there's heaps of stuff on my sueellson.com website, webinars you can watch for free without logging in. So the first thing to do is to change your LinkedIn profile URL. So when you create a LinkedIn account, they give you linkedin.com/in/first name - last name, numbers and letters. But that does not optimize your name in search results. So we want you to change that to just your name. So when you visit your profile, you'll see that little bit on the top right hand side, public profile and URL, and you'll click the pen and you try and change it to just your name. So I did work out that I could sign into LinkedIn here. So this is the live version. So you can see my LinkedIn URL has that Sue Ellson up the top there already. If I wanted to change it, I can click the pen, and I can just click the pen next to it and change it to just my name. I make sure my visibility is turned on. I make sure my photo is public, and I make sure all those other little settings are turned on as well. But sometimes LinkedIn turns those off and you're not appearing in search results at all. So you want to make sure that's all turned on, okay? So the next thing we're going to do, and I'll be having lots of time for questions. I'll just get through the slides first. Let me go back to that one, come on. Open. Righto, I'll do it another way. does it? Doesn't want to do it, does it? Alright, so that's your LinkedIn URL. What it also does is it looks much better when you copy paste that onto your email signature, and also on your resume. It just looks a lot neater, and it optimizes your name in search results. So if people are Googling you, it's going to come up. So the next thing we do is your photo and headline. Now, believe it or not, people spend up to 65% of the time looking at your profile, looking at your photo. So you want to be smiling with your teeth showing, and take the photo indoors, because that way if you think of something exciting, your pupils will dilate and you'll look much more energetic. So it's really about your energy and enthusiasm. You don't want to have it outside where the sun's really bright and it shrinks your pupils. So you take it inside. I had a professional photographer take my photos some years ago. It took him 70 presses of the button before he found one I liked. So just take lots of photos until you get one you like, and preferably wear a high neck garment, because that frames the face. So people are not looking at your neck, we want them to look at your eyes. So put your head at the top of the circle, your eyes on the 1/3 line, and just have the head and shoulders in shot, wearing garments you would wear in that role. Now the next thing is the headline, and this is the most important field on your LinkedIn profile. And you can see here I've got 3.5 lines worth of keywords. So I want to be found not just for LinkedIn specialist, but LinkedIn trainer, LinkedIn author, LinkedIn specialist, expert. All of those words are in there, not repeated. So you want to put as many keywords for the jobs that you're interested in that headline. The next most important spot for your keywords is your job titles. So all of your job titles, I don't just say I'm a marketing consultant, I add in all the keywords after it as well, so that I get more words in there. And also, I call myself an independent LinkedIn specialist. So people know that I don't work for LinkedIn, I'm independent of that. So put in some words that help people understand how you operate, and you don't need to repeat any words. I put capital letters for each one, but your goal is really to appear in more search results. Now the actual job titles, as I just said, I don't just write marketing consultant, I put in all those extra words, and they're all my keywords. So if you stalk me on LinkedIn, you'll see the word LinkedIn all over my LinkedIn profile, because that's the word I really, really want to be found for. But if you're not sure what your keywords could be, you can look up job descriptions or advertisements, or you can look at other people who've got similar skills. You can look at their LinkedIn profiles, or you can create a free account at myfuture.edu.au. And what that does is it gives you a list of what's involved for each job, the salary ranges, the prospects for that industry, the professional associations you can join, and it even has a career assessment tool. So the myfuture.edu.au website is well worth checking out as well. The other thing, if you're technically minded, you can visit a website, right click on a spare spot and look at the source code, and you'll see the code behind that website page, and it will tell you what they're trying to be found for, so that you can get some keywords from that as well. Now, when you write up experience, most people just write job title, organisation name and dates, and that is not helpful if you want to appear in more search results. So what you need to do is write up for every job, and this can take up to 10 hours to do, your achievements, which is anything you did really, really well, or anything over and above what you were originally hired for. You also need to add in your tasks, and you write the achievements in past tense and the tasks in present tense, even if it was a previous job. So that way when people are reading it, they say, oh my goodness, you can do all these different things, because it's all in present tense. A lot of people don't know much about the organisation either, so if you provide a little description of the organisation, you mention your skills, you nominate those for the job, and you link to some media, because most people on their LinkedIn profile do not have those media bits filled in. So if you do, that's going to make yours look even better. and you can see here I've just linked to a few videos. So it doesn't have to be stuff you've written, it can be something produced by the organisation that you can link to there. Now those media items, they also demonstrate your digital competency. So if you can do that, you look better than the person who hasn't done it. And you can see here it says add a link or add media. So the different types of things, you can add a PDF, a PowerPoint presentation, a Word document, an image, or even a GIF. And that way, again, you've got some nice colour and flavours on your LinkedIn profile, and it looks really good. Now, for those of you who are not working, the algorithm appears to prefer people who are currently working. So if you finish the job in June and it's now July, the algorithm doesn't like showing you up in search results because you're not currently working. So I have a little technique to not lie, but help the algorithm out. And I call it adding in a job called career research. And so you mention the type of things you're looking for as a job. That's your job now, is you're doing career research. And your employer, you mention as various, but you don't choose various from the drop-down box. And you write down all the fabulous things you're doing looking for a job. You might be doing some micro-credentials, some short courses, you might be speaking to mentors, you might be doing some networking, all sorts of different things you can do to look for a job. You can mention that, and then when a real person looks at your content, they can say, all right, they're available now, but they're not just unemployed, sitting at home, or something else going on. So I think it's a really safe option to help the algorithm make you appear in more search results. Now, I've only ever met one person who's ever filled this section in. It's the education section, and it's a list of all the subjects. Now, my daughter has given me permission to talk about her LinkedIn profile, and she started studying at Monash University and did 3 subjects of a science degree before she moved to La Trobe University and did a full degree in animal and veterinary bioscience. So we have added both items to her LinkedIn profile. So I know some people get really anxious thinking, oh, but I dropped out of uni, I don't want to put that on my LinkedIn profile. It's perfectly okay. You just say the subjects you did complete and you still list it under university, and that way you become part of that university's alumni. So then you are going to again appear in more search results. So with my daughter, she can appear in Monash alumni search results and La Trobe University search results, even though we said subjects completed for one, and then in the other one you fill in all of it. Now, the other thing I did in my degree, that I did my correspondence starting way back in 1993 and finished in 2000, was I did a subject called business ethics. And if I was going for a board position, I'd have to be across governance, risk and compliance. They are 3 key words I would need for a board position. And they were covered in the business ethics subject. So what I've done is I've again optimised my education section, and even though it wasn't a subject, I've mentioned it as a topic. So again, we can really drill down. If I didn't do governance, risk and compliance, I couldn't put it on there. But because I did do that in that course, in that subject, I've mentioned it as topics. Nobody in Melbourne's heard of the University of South Australia, so I put in a little description of that. And also it's now becoming Adelaide University, it's merging with the University of Adelaide, so I've also mentioned that as well. So if the training provider you had has changed, you just mention the new one and say it was previously known as. So that way, again, you become part of that alumni of the new organisation, and you have a logo on your LinkedIn profile. Now, when LinkedIn started out, it was basically just an online resume with your jobs. And the way you got a job was because you'd had the job title before and you'd worked with a very prestigious organisation, and that's how you got work. But now we've moved to a skills focus. So there are multiple sections where you need to highlight your skills. So first of all, you add them to skills, and you start typing and you see if it's in the choice and you pick it. And then you can add it to the about section where you write a little story about yourself. So you can add 5 skills there. And then each experience, you add the skills, each license and certification you have, each education and each project, you add those skills in. So the more times you mention it, the algorithm again thinks you know those skills really well. So make sure you fill that in. And then the About section. Now there's a lot of debate between career professionals. Should you write this in the first person? I started here, I went there, I did something else. Should you write it in the third person? Sue started here, went there, did something else. Or should you write no person, started here, went there, did something else? It's entirely up to you. I choose third person because when somebody else is reading it, I want them to remember they're reading about Sue, not reading about themselves, which when you use I, they're thinking about themselves, but they're reading about you. But other people like first person because it's more personal and because you wrote it, so it should be I. So, you know, there's lots of arguments for all, so it really doesn't matter. But what I do like is to make sure everything is scan friendly. So a lot of people are looking at your content on a mobile phone or a tablet, so there's not much room. So if you can have sort of short dot points as well as a little bit of a narrative, and any narrative, one sentence is one paragraph. You want lots of white space, so it makes it easy for people to read. Do not bother getting AI in LinkedIn to write it. It sounds terrible. So make sure you write it and you talk about it. Now, what we did on Carmen's LinkedIn profile is we separated her skills. So rather than all narrative, we wrote professional skills, technical skills, personal skills, industry experience, international experience, and interests. And just did dot points under each. And that meant it was, again, really scan friendly, and all those words are repeated throughout the LinkedIn profile in other sections as well. You can include a call to action, and right at the top of my LinkedIn profile, I have the email address and phone number so that people can just really, really quickly click on that and reach out to me. Now, if you want to see them in full, you can see mine, which is more business consulting related, on my LinkedIn profile. And if you want to see Carmen's and her layout, you can see hers by clicking on those links and checking them out online. Now, I have only touched on the smallest, most important part of LinkedIn today. There are all these other sections you can fill in on LinkedIn. So the more complete your LinkedIn profile is, the more likely you are to appear in search results. Now, the easiest one to fill in is languages. I presume most of you can speak English if you're sitting here now. So you can put English, and if you've got other languages, I did French at school for 5 years, so I put elementary proficiency on French, but I did put it in my LinkedIn profile. So the only section I haven't filled in is patents, because I don't have a patent. But again, if you want to check out my LinkedIn profile, I filled in everything else. It's not like the plumber's plumbing. I've actually done the work, so you're welcome to check it out. But remember, there's a lot of things in there. There's the core elements, the recommended, and the additional ones. But like every database, if garbage in, garbage out. You've got to put the words in to appear in those search results. Now, if you would like some professional support, you can look up the Career Development Association Australia website. There's lots of us who can help you with your career. I do recommend if you go to a professional, you don't purchase a package up front. You purchase an hour first and make sure you're a good fit both ways with that person. But just remember that the skills to get a job are very different to the skills to do a job. So if you get in the right job, in the right company, at the right pay rate, that fee that you pay is definitely worth it. Because otherwise, most people just end up in some job and hate it and wonder why they're not happy. So the average return on investment, there's an article in your brochure. I think on the second last page, it says like 7 times the value of what you spend. So definitely worth speaking to an expert. Like we go to a doctor for medical things, why shouldn't we go to a career expert for career things? So they're the things I've gone through. I'm going to ask questions. So get ready to ask your question. No question is too silly, so be ready. Remember, the skills to do a job are not the same as the skills to get a job. And there's free career quiz and job descriptions on My Future. The Victorian Government has a Finding a Job guide. what to do to get career support from the CDAA. If any of you lose your job and you are entitled to outplacement services, please use them. Don't think it's no help. Everything is of help, so make sure you take them up. There's also education providers often have career services. So if you're studying, quite often the universities have career support teams, so you can go and speak to them. Some employers offer employee assistance programs if you're having difficulties, and that could provide career support as well. So there's lots of places that you can get career support, and also there's a whole bunch of webinars and recordings that I have on my website, mostly related to LinkedIn. I've also been at the Career Expo for many years. This is just the last 3 years worth of presentations that I've done, and of course you're welcome to access those on my website. And I always appreciate Google reviews. So I've only got 10 more reviews than I had last year. So if one person can write me a review from today, I will be super excited by that, because it takes about 5 hours to put these presentations together, because I make sure they're completely up to date and designed for each audience. And it's all free. I didn't get paid for that. So if you'd like to write a review, I definitely appreciate that. And that's how to get the slides again. So, questions, fire away. Just raise your hand and yell.
How do recruiter like to be approached on LinkedIn so that we get, as someone looking for a job, we get a guaranteed coffee chat with you?
Okay, so the question is, how do we get a recruiter to definitely contact us and have a coffee chat with them? All right, so what we need to remember is a recruiter is working on behalf of the employer. So they're trying to find a candidate that the employer wants, and they don't get paid to help you out at that coffee meeting. So what we've got to think about is, all right, why would it be worth that recruiter's time to speak to me? Now, I only recommend that you reach out to recruiters who specialise in that industry or that profession. So, either the task you're doing or the industry. And for them to be in recruitment for at least 3 years, because those recruiters, because they specialise in that area, they like to have a little candidate gene pool. So when an employer comes to them, they've got people that they can recommend quite quickly. So you need to find a minimum of 3 years specialising in your area. You need to have filled in your LinkedIn profile completely and ask them for the resume layout they prefer. Because if they have to change the document to make all the resumes look the same for the 3 candidates they propose, if yours is already in that format, they're going to be much happier to pass you on, right? And lastly, you must obviously respect their time and, not say, please give me a job. Their job is to represent the employer. So I actually think it's better for you to network and get referrals from other people. So for instance, if I'm a lawyer and I'm connected to a whole lot of other lawyers and lots of other lawyers know me, and then I speak to them and say, do you know anybody who's looking for a lawyer? It's much easier to go through somebody who's happy to help me out than it is a recruiter who's only working on behalf of the employer. Okay? But it's still worth a crack if you've done all those other things.
Just spoke in the UK a few weeks ago. The algorithms looking at well from the UK.
Yes. Yep.
What's the best way to get yourself found in your settings?
Right. So the question is, you just moved from another country. How do you make sure you start appearing in Melbourne search results? There's 3 locations that you have to put your new location on, and I'll show you these because that's probably going to be easiest if the computer is nice to me. So if you go to your LinkedIn profile, there's this spot here, and I always choose Greater Melbourne rather than just Melbourne because that's a bigger radius. So I change the location there. The next location you change is in contact info. And here where it says address, I actually mention the suburb in Melbourne I'm in, but that also geolocates me in Melbourne. The third thing is your current job title. So in your current current job, which might be career research since you've just arrived, you would again put your location. So that's the third one. And the fourth one, if you're really going to go all out, is here under jobs. If you were mentioning that you're looking for, I'll go back. If you mention open to work, right, open to work. So here's my open to work section. If I click on that, I can mention location types here, and I need to mention my locations in that section as well. So there's actually 4 slots you need to update your location. Next question. Yeah. I've written 2 LinkedIn books, yes. Yeah, and they're on ResearchGate. So if you go to ResearchGate, I'll come back to that slide. You can download my books for free. That's okay, it's all good. Yeah, so you don't have to create an account, you just follow through and it'll give you step by step what to do on your LinkedIn profile. Yeah, so that's really worthwhile. So before you do your networking and referrals, you fill in your LinkedIn profile first. And just allocate about 10 hours because it takes quite a bit of time to write up all your achievements, all your tasks, all your descriptions. It can take time. Another question? You might come down so I can hear you. Sorry, the drum, we're competing. Question here is a longer absence away from the workforce, okay? So, as you heard, I started my career 11 years in the bank, and then when I moved to Melbourne, I got sacked when I was pregnant. And so what I did was I talked about it in a collective way. So if we go through my experience section, and I'm a firm believer in telling the whole story, so there's no gaps in what I've been doing. So if you scroll through all my jobs, right, if we go right back to the beginning, there's my Westpac career. So I've got 11 years all grouped together because it's pre-1994. Who cares what I was doing pre-1994? But there is a word in there that's really important. I used to detect fraud in the bank. And believe it or not, 2 years I got a call from a recruiter asking me if I'd like a job at the National Disability Insurance Agency detecting fraud, all because I had that one word once on my LinkedIn profile. So this is why it's so important to put your whole story on LinkedIn, because it could be an old word that helps you, not just a new word. But then what I did is when I was studying part-time, doing my uni degree by correspondence, and I was doing temp work and setting up my Newcomers Network website. So what I've done is I've grouped from March 94 to January 2001 all as one job. Because from start date to end date, these were all the things I was doing. So another client of mine, he had been ill with cancer. I didn't ask him what it was, whether he was okay, any of that. I just said, what did you learn? So from date A to date B, he was doing language courses, he travelled, he learned how to do raw food cooking, he did all this stuff, and we called it a sabbatical. And we described all the things he did between date A and date B, and it gave him a fantastic opportunity. He ended up getting approached by a company in Belgium because they wanted someone with Belgian experience. But the problem is, if you leave a big gap, people get suspicious and they think you're in jail, on drugs, disabled, unemployed, unemployable, you know, all sorts of crazy things. So if we do that, it's better. So the other issue is, obviously my children were very young then as well, and if a man talks about staying home looking after the children, everybody goes, oh, isn't that lovely? And if a woman does it, they assume we're just home cooking, right? And so I didn't want that impression to be given of me. So you can't tell when I had my children because it's merged in with the other things I was doing during that time, which was still professional. And for instance, working for ANZET, where my dad used to work, I was there for 4 weeks. City of Melbourne, 6 weeks. You know, a couple of these jobs, 2 days, 4 days, 3 months. They're all random things, but they were big name companies, so I popped them in there just to give a little bit of a sprinkling. So it's not lying. I would never ever lie, but I do classify it as massaging the message to convey the message I'm trying to get across, that I've kept up to date. Yeah. Yes? Yes? Yeah, okay, so it's talking about a career change and networking. So first of all, if you're looking at doing a career change, the first thing you want to do is update your LinkedIn profile. And so I worked with a guy who was had completed his accounting studies but wasn't an accountant yet. So we put on his LinkedIn profile, aspiring accountant. So he would appear in an accountant search result even though he wasn't one yet. So you can always use future, aspiring, potential, you know, whatever. So you can do that. So you want to change your headline so that when people look at it in that networking process, they understand why you've reached out to them. And obviously your photo needs to look like a person who works in that industry with your energy and enthusiasm. And of course, if your current job or that career research thing I mentioned before, you fill that in so that that matches. Because they're your 3 most important things, your photo, headline, and your current job. They're your 3 most important fields. And hopefully some skills as well. Now, in terms of networking, what you can do is you can go to your network on LinkedIn. So in LinkedIn, if you go into here under settings and privacy, and you go to data privacy on the left, and this looks like there's going to be a time delay here. And then you can request a copy of your data privacy, left on there, and then get a copy of your data. And you download your current list of contacts. So that will give you first name, last name, current job, current company, and date you connected with everyone in your network. So these are the people you need to speak to first, because they already know you or know you at some level, and you could ask them for a referral. I'm now looking at changing my career into being an accountant, and you know, can you recommend someone I can talk to? So that's the first level. The second type of search you can do is just in LinkedIn. So you might do a search up here, and you might say accountant, and you might look for people who are not in your network and click on the people choice, and then you could look at some of these people and decide if you would like to connect with them. So what I would do is I would right click, open in a new tab, right click, open in a new tab for all of the people who are of interest, and then when I look at their profile I decide yes or no, do I want to reach out to them and connect and ask for referrals. Now the third one is my personal favourite, is a Google Advanced Search. Now the benefit of a Google Advanced Search is it doesn't just search your LinkedIn network, it searches the entire LinkedIn database. Right, so can you give me some words that would be on the profile of someone in the role that you would like? Psychoanalysis, okay. And we've got to assume it's a very sparse LinkedIn profile, but hopefully these words will be on there. So psycho, oops, I'm going to spell it first. Is that correct? Psychoanalysis, yeah. Yeah. And In what area? Research. Sorry. Yep. Very hard to hear here. Research. And our location, which is Melbourne. Okay? And this is an unlimited search. You can search for as many days, weeks, months, years that you want. And then you go down to the box here which says site or domain, and you choose linkedin.com. And now it brings up all these people, and you would again right click, open in a new tab, right click, open in a new tab, and connect with those people. It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah, because these people are already in the industry, and but you must fill in your LinkedIn profile first, because if they look at it and there's nothing there, they're going to say no thanks. Yeah. Now the other thing you can do is, let's say we look at Deborah, and we're trying to decide whether Deborah would be a good person to reach out to. Okay. So she's got 4,000 followers, so that's a pretty good sign. And what we can do is we can look on the More button and choose About This Profile. And we can see she joined in June 2010, so she's likely to be a fairly genuine person, okay? And what I would also look at is she's got a follow button on her LinkedIn profile. So if you can't see a connect button, you can always press More, and there'll usually be a connect button on there if you want to directly connect with her. But I would also look at where she worked, you know, like she's currently in South Africa, but she's previously, oh no, she's doing both. Okay, but has she been involved in helping people in some way in the past? Like, was she part of a professional association, or did she have a volunteer role? Because those sorts of people are more likely to be willing to help you if they've got that little bit of a community focus on their LinkedIn profile. But no point just approaching, you know, most people. And what's the worst they can say? No. So I suggest 10 people a day and a maximum 100 a week that you try and find and connect with. Yeah. Any other questions? Oh yes? I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Can you come forward a little?
What would be the best approach to try to get a referral from that teacher but do know them well?
Yeah, okay. So what's the best way to get a referral from someone you don't know particularly well? Well, you don't have the same message for every person you approach. You try and target the message a little bit. So here, if I was reaching out to Deborah, I would say, hi Deborah, I found your details on LinkedIn, and I am interested in a psychoanalyst? Psychoanalysis or psychotherapy referral, you know, to a role in that area. And I see that you've got experience in both research and clinical practice, and it would be fantastic to, you know, chat to you for 10 minutes if possible. Because if you say, hi, I want a job, that's a huge request. But if you say, if I can just talk to you for 10 minutes on the phone or via Zoom, and then when the 10 minutes is up, you say, look, I'd love to keep talking, but I want to respect your time. Are you okay to continue talking, or should we wrap it up then? So yeah, the goal is to try and speak and request a referral. So just be polite and genuine, but don't make too many big demands. Because you think about it, if I rock up to you and say, you know, can I have $10? You're going to say, what? You know, why should you give me $10? But if I say, look, you know, I was just about to buy a Mikey and the machine swallowed my $10 and I can't travel without it. Would you be happy to loan me $10? You know, then obviously, yeah, that's a better way to go about it. Yeah. That said, when my son was a teenager, he just rang organisations until someone gave him a job. So, you know, sometimes the squeaky wheel will also get the opportunity. Also, I am a huge fan of working close to home. So go and look for organisations that are near you and approach those directly as well, so you don't have a huge commute. Yeah. Any other questions? Anyone's game enough to ask in front of the whole group? Yes?
So I noticed that they are, whether it's you or this lady, they always like do different job at from before up to now. So it's totally okay for different, even if it's different.
Yeah. So the question is it okay to have different jobs? So back in the early days of recruitment, people wanted to look at an applicant and exactly what they were doing before is exactly what they're going to do next, right? That was it. And if your resume didn't exactly match, you were thrown out. But LinkedIn is different to that because LinkedIn is the whole person. So the only advice I would give to Deborah if I was helping her is she looking for gigs in South Africa or is she looking for gigs in Melbourne? Because both of these are current jobs, right? So if the one to list first would be the one you're trying to get results from. So if she wants jobs in South Africa, this is perfect. But if she wants jobs in Melbourne, I would swap it and put the Melbourne job up the top. Yeah, because it's present, you can change that. So if I was on my LinkedIn profile, where are we? We've gone way off here. Oh, I'll just go again. So in my LinkedIn profile, I've got multiple things I'm doing at the same time now, right? So what I can do, because they're present jobs, see, this is my business, this is where I publish my books, this is Newcomers Network, I just put that up for an experiment, but this is the job I have as well, right? Marketing consultant. So what you can do is you can press the pen here and only the ones that you are in currently, you can do the double arrows and I could use the little hamburger and drag this one up to the top if I wanted to be going just for a marketing role rather than my own businesses. So I can shuffle the present jobs around. But it's perfectly okay to have, multiple jobs now. Like I write poetry, so I share my poetry on LinkedIn as well. But I still am friendly and professional, so I don't say what I did on the weekend. Like it's not that story. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. More attractive. So the number one thing, if you're moving from another country, that Australian employers want is Australian experience. Like they all want it, and they'll all tell you that's the reason you didn't get it, because you don't have Australian experience. So as I said before, put in that career research choice. That's one way to do it, and say you're based in Melbourne. But also, any experience you have in Melbourne, put it on. So even if you were just doing a job for now, like somebody I spoke to earlier today was doing office cleaning, doesn't matter, put it on. Because what it shows is you're prepared to work. Now, I would obviously, as a career practitioner, try and get you work related to what you were doing before. That would be the number one priority, not just any job. But if you don't have those job search skills, any job is better than no job. So still put it in. So for instance, if you're an engineer and you were working in a pizza shop and you worked out that you could cook more pizzas, in 30 minutes because of your engineering background, and you made suggestions on how to improve the pizza production line, then you can talk about those engineering skills you've applied in the pizza shop job as well. And people say, wow, this is somebody really making an effort. Yeah. Also in that situation, I would suggest that you look for people in LinkedIn who've had experience in those Asian countries as well. So when you do that Google advanced search, the person I spoke to earlier today was from Hong Kong. So I would put the word Hong Kong in the search as well as Melbourne and reach out to people who had experience in Hong Kong, because they'd be more likely to be able to recommend me to someone who understands the training I would have received having worked in Hong Kong. Yeah. These are great questions, by the way. Testing my mettle. Yeah. All right, well, I'll be hanging around for a little while. You're also welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn. I am going to show you a little trick on your phone now before you go. which is how to connect to other people. So you can practice with the person sitting next to you. So if you have the LinkedIn app on your phone, you open the app and you press in the search box. And on the right-hand side, you will see some little squares. And that will bring up your QR code. So you don't have to carry a business card. You can connect with people straight away just using your phone. So what you do is you show it to the person in front of you and they scan it and their profile will appear on your phone. Now you don't press the big blue button, you press the 3 dots next to it and you choose personalised invite. And then you type in Career Expo and send off the request. So that way they know how they met you. So you can connect with everyone you meet from now on LinkedIn. So the more people in your network, the more people you'll get in search results as well. So thank you for joining this. Don't forget to check out the Career Development Association Australia stand next to us, and check us all out online as well. And as I said, if you've got any quick questions, you can just email me and I'll be happy to help with those as well. And thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.